Hey guys, and welcome back to Social Hour. My name is Sarah.
And I'm Megan. We took a little bit of a break, but we're jumping right back into it. So, we both had a pretty crazy weekend. I ended my month in Boston and now I'm in Vermont, which I just drove up yesterday. One of the funny stories that I wanted to tell you was embarrassing because you know how I have a problem with Amazon packages.
Oh no, what happened?
So at this apartment, there's a concierge and they get all your packages and then they send you a text message that you come down and get your package and stuff like that. So I was always so embarrassed, like I was ordering too much, or I would actually try to stagger when I was ordering packages so that it would be a different person working so that each person didn't know how much I was ordering. I would be like, okay, I know that the day shift ends at this time. So I'm going to get one package like in the morning and then I'm going to go back and get the other one in the afternoon so they don't know how many I got and blah, blah, blah. So the whole month I was in Boston, I was kind of staggering my packages like that and I was picking them up based on who was working. At the very end, I was starting to panic a little bit because not every Airbnb place lets you order packages to the place. So I wasn't sure if in Vermont I was going to be able to order anything. So I kind of had a lot of stuff I needed to order by the end of the month because I didn't know if I was going to be able to order more. I staggered it by the days. I was getting some stuff on Thursday, some stuff on Friday, some stuff on Saturday, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up getting probably like 8 or 9 packages. What happened was somehow some of the packages got delayed, and then somehow the concierge had too many packages and didn't organize them one day. So basically, the packages built up for 3 days. Then they texted me that I had all the packages, all the ones that I had staggered on purpose. So I go down to get the packages and I'm like, yeah, I'm in this like apartment number or whatever. I was thinking I'd be able to just carry them up to the apartment, no big deal. The guy goes into the mailroom and he comes back out and he goes, you're going to need to grab a trolley. It's the luggage trolleys for when people are moving in and they have too much luggage to take up to the apartment. He goes, you're going to need to grab one of those carts. So I have to walk over to the mailroom with this giant luggage cart and he starts loading my packages onto the luggage cart. I was so embarrassed. And then I had to take this luggage cart full of obvious Amazon packages up to the apartment and then unload them and then bring the trolley back down to the lobby. And I was so embarrassed because I spent the whole month trying to avoid situations like this. And some of them were big and some of them were heavy. And I was like, I look like such an idiot with a whole luggage trolley full of Amazon packages.
That's funny. And it's funny how you were trying to stagger them, but then like Amazon, classic Amazon, and actually it wasn't Amazon. It was just like the front lobby
It
people.
was both. It was
Well,
everything happened at once. It was Amazon delayed some, the lobby delayed some, and then that was just so embarrassing.
yeah, but I can see how you think that would be embarrassing, but for me, on that hand, I'd be like, "Oh shit, it's like Christmas morning all over again." And
Once I got all them up to the apartment, it was very exciting to open them all.
yeah, did the embarrassment go away afterwards?
Yeah, but I did avoid that concierge for a couple days.
That's funny.
Yeah. And then so the other thing that I wanted to tell you is really funny because this was just bad luck. So apparently every year Boston has basically Boston moving day. Okay. Every lease, every apartment lease, every house lease, every rental ends on August 31st and starts on September 1st in the entire city of I don't even know how many people are in this city, like millions or something. And guess what day I was leaving Boston? On Boston moving day. And do you remember when I called you on Friday and I was telling you how overstimulated I was by all the noise outside? That's what it was.
Yeah.
50,000 people all moving in and out of the city on these tiny little Boston streets that were made for horse and buggies where you can't go around, all the noise echoes, and the streets were full of furniture. There was beds thrown everywhere. There was people moving everywhere. When I was moving out of the apartment, there were 3 people moving in and out, sharing the elevators, trying to open the doors. Everybody's in each other's way, parking cars. It was chaos. And how the one day of the year that happens was the day I was moving out when I only stayed in Boston for a month.
That is like a series of unfortunate events.
Isn't that
That's
crazy?
that's crazy.
And I sent you a
Yeah, and,
TikTok
like,
because
how would you even know?
there's no way I could have known that. And I had no idea. And I sent you a TikTok because it was really funny. All of a sudden, my TikTok was full of Boston moving day. All these things where it's like people swearing and trucks moving and everybody being stuck in traffic jams and all this stuff. And I was like, how the hell did I choose the one wrong day of the entire year? So that was so stressful. When I had to go get my car and drive back through the city, I sat in my car for, I'm not even kidding, 30 minutes, like working myself up to just drive because I was so scared, so much anxiety just to drive my car back over to the apartment and not knowing if I was going to get a spot. And then I was like, what's my backup plan? And what's my backup plan? And where am I going to park? What am I going to do if I can't get a spot? It's going to take me hours to walk back and forth. Oh my God. I was freaking out. I was so stressed.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
and that's just, like, add that to my little list of, like, weird Boston quirks that or, like, weird city quirks and
Yeah, and it
stuff
is kind
that
of just a
you
Boston
just
quirk because
could never.
obviously we lived in a college town, so we know what it's like when everybody is kind of moving in and out on the same day, but not in a big city where
Yeah,
everyone's
that's
moving.
wild.
Yeah, and I looked it up, I Googled it after Boston Moving Day, and it said the earliest reference to Boston Moving Day was in 1899. So it's been a thing for a long ass
Wow.
time.
A tradition,
Yeah.
yeah.
But, like, a crazy tradition, like, so stressful, and I was just obviously glad I wasn't actually moving because oh my god.
Yeah, exactly, because, like, it's when, like, in a college town, you're just moving, like, your stuff that you need for college, but, like, in a city like that, these are just, like, regular people in their lives and, like, have their hobbies and all of that stuff with them.
Yeah, there was, like, full moving
I
trucks, and
couldn't
there's
even
no room.
imagine.
Yeah. But you had a busy weekend too, right? You went up north for the weekend. How was that?
Yeah, so this was my first time going back up north for a holiday weekend in probably a year. I was so excited to go, just being on my medication and being, like, in that environment and just, like, really not having the anxiety and anxiousness that I would typically feel going up. And so it was, like, a good weekend with spending with family and friends. This is crazy, but as much as I used to go up north, dad and I would, like, never see each other if he would even go. There was a period of time where he would never go. So this time, I stayed at my one aunt's house and he stayed at a different cabin, but we met up and we played golf Saturday
Aw.
morning, and I've honestly never played golf with dad before, and that was, like, so much fun. And then we went to the beach. I finally officially can confidently say I do not like the beach. I do not like the sun. I don't like the sand, the water, the peeing. Yeah. I think I'm good with it. Unless, like, I want to go to the beach, but if I wanna go to the beach, it's for an hour, not any second longer.
The beach is an interesting thing because I feel like the beach is so romanticized. Like, you feel like you're supposed to love the beach. Everybody's like, "Oh, I just wanna go to the beach. I love the beach. I love being at the beach." But when you really think about it, it's not ideal. Or maybe it's just because we both have sensory issues and stuff like that. Because I know I can't stand even putting sunscreen on, like, oh, just the feel of that, and then the sand and the stickiness and having your clothes get wet and just all that stuff is like a nightmare to me.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the case for me necessarily. Like, I don't mind putting on the sunscreen and, like, if I'm in the mindset that I'm going to the beach or, like, I know, I like to set myself up for success, and, like, I've always said that for, like, as long as I can remember, and, like, bringing the sunscreen, bringing the umbrella, the towels, just, like, any little thing that might make your beach stay a little bit better, even just, like, put it in the bag, and, like, that I could get down with, like, using all of, like, my tools and whatnot, but unfortunately, this time, our bag ended up in a different car that we got lost from, so we ended up going to the beach with just beach chairs, so I got burnt on this half of my body. But, um, yeah, I don't know, and you're stuck. You're stuck with a big group of people because you all carpool together and, like, you're trapped until, like, the last person wants to leave. So, like,
Ew.
that's another big issue. I just feel trapped.
Yeah, I would usually like to go for a walk on the beach if I feel trapped with like all the people. I would just start going walking down the beach and finding seashells or whatever just to like get away for a little bit.
Yeah, but I think even, like, that I didn't want to be walking around because I was, like, cold and I had to go to the bathroom really bad, and I don't know. I was just trying, honestly, to not rage, truly. So
Well,
sad,
yeah,
but
if you don't
need to get
have
better
the
on
stuff
that.
you brought with you, then it's gonna be miserable. If you don't have your sunscreen and your towels and all that stuff, obviously, like, why would you even stay? It's not even fun.
Yeah, agreed. Alright, so moving on from this topic, um, I just wanted to give a little bit of a update on our mental health and ADHD and our mindset and whatnot. So, going into my ADHD journey, I had my follow-up appointment with my doctor, and I've gotten over just whatever like hurdle was in my head about taking my medication and whatnot. So I feel so much more comfortable in different environments and whatnot. So moving forward, I'm definitely going to be working on just a happy medium of everything and not hyper fixating on one thing or another, which it's okay to from time to time, but I just want to create more balance in my life
Yeah.
for sure. And then going back to being up north, I was talking to my aunt, and this is funny because I haven't seen this part of the family in quite a while. So she was talking to me and she was like, "Sarah," she was like, "on my bucket list." She goes, "One thing that I have for you that I'm gonna keep hounding you on until you do it." She goes, "You need to graduate. You need to get your bachelor's degree." And I was like, I smiled a little bit and I was like, "I'm already graduated." I was like, I did it in May and June, finished the class, and now I have my degree and everything. I ended up telling her how I got on medication, and she's a nurse, so I don't know. I just she has different opinions than what I have
Yeah.
sometimes. And I told her the medication that I was on. She knows all of my symptoms and whatnot. And when I told her that most, if not all of that's gone away, she was just like amazed and like blown away and so happy for me. And
Yeah.
that was like towards the end of the weekend, and that left me on a really good note.
Yeah, I've always felt like a lot of your symptoms were probably mental because of your stress and anxiety and stuff. I think that was just affecting your body so much. So it's like now that you're working on your mental a lot more and your stress and anxiety, and if the meds are helping with that, then I think it makes total sense that it's helping the physical symptoms too.
Yeah, it makes me like so happy. Like I know I'm not exactly where I want to be like mentally and like happiness wise and whatnot, but like I'm definitely in the step in the right direction. Cause I had even told her before the last time I saw her that I needed to get out of my one job. Like I just was itching to get out and all of that. And I told her, I was like, so after I went through this mental health journey, I was like, my job is like still challenging, but it's like a fun, good challenge for me that I enjoy going to every day. And she was like, "I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, it's like
Thanks."
your job is actually doable and realistic for you now mentally.
Yep.
For
So
my
how are you
ADHD
doing mentally?
stuff for my ADHD stuff, I actually have an ADHD coach now, and so she helps me work through mentally just basically all these ADHD tips and tricks and hacks, and I tell her what I'm struggling with, and she helps me make an actual plan for it with steps. And so our first meeting, we were working on having a morning routine and a night routine, and so far that has been really good. Obviously, there's a couple nights or mornings where I didn't do it, but it's like the difference between not being able to do it physically, make myself go get up and do it, and deciding to have a lazy morning or deciding not to do something on my list when it's my choice. And then I feel fine about it because I'm like, well, I chose not to do that. I couldn't just not, it was my choice, you know?
And that makes the biggest difference. It really does.
Yeah, and so now I only do 1 meds day a week instead of every day because I don't know, I just didn't I liked it for a while, but then I just didn't really like how it was affecting me mentally and stuff like that, so just 1 day a week on that now, which has been going really well.
Nice. I'm so happy to hear that you found a good balance and
Yeah,
rhythm.
and I have a new hyperfixation.
And I couldn't even guess because it's probably not anything you told me about the last time we talked.
No, this is one that you know. I'm writing a book.
Oh, yes, I did know that.
Yeah.
That is so exciting.
But yeah, this writing the book thing has been really fun and really interesting because I think it combines a lot of hyperfixations and a lot of my interests into one thing because I can make all these Pinterest mood boards of the different characters and the plot and the story. And then I have all these different pages of like his characteristics and her characteristics and their dynamic together and what I want in the story and different scenes that I want. And it's like if I'm not in the mood to do one part of it, I can just do a different part of it. And so it's just been really fun to bounce back and forth between different things. And I got this new writing software that's going to help me organize it all. And now I'm definitely on writer TikTok and author TikTok, and I'm getting all these really good tips and tricks. And there's a lot of editors, book editors on TikTok. And so they give their tips as someone who edits books for a living and stuff like that. So I feel really good and excited about it. I know my writing is not good. And so it's giving me an opportunity to not be a perfectionist too, because the first draft is pretty much shitty for any writer. When I tried to write when I was younger, I would try to write and then it was really bad. And I was like, well, I can't do this. But now I'm like, well, yeah, it's going to be bad. I'm just getting my thoughts down on paper, basically. And I can go back later and decide what I want to keep and what I want to change and then kind of refine it all into actual good writing.
Yeah, and now it's cool because I feel like you're just so good at everything in your life, and this is a weakness that you feel that you have, so now you're trying to hone in on that and strengthen that skill, which is cool. And I know when one of us gets into something, we usually, like, excel at it, like, so much, and it's most of the time, like, successful, and so because of that, I'm so excited to read your book, like, when it's done because, like, I know you're saying you're not gonna take the perfectionist route, but I feel like your level of standard is a lot higher than what others would be
Yeah.
in the
I
United
think
States.
by the end of the whole process, yeah, I'll be a perfectionist about it. But this is really helping me practice to not do it because you can't start writing if you're going to be a perfectionist about it. You have to just start and you have to just get that first draft out. And that's a really good practice for
Yeah.
me. But I think this
Mhm.
whole thing was really interesting because dad was telling me, dad was reading something about astrology or something. And he explained to me that my thing was that when I decide I'm going to do something, that's it. I have these gut feelings. And there's some times in my life where I never even thought about doing something before. And then all of a sudden I have this feeling and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the right path. That's what I need to do, obviously. And it feels so right. It just makes sense to me. And I'm like, yeah, I follow my gut and I do what I need to do. Like this year of travel or getting out of the Air Force or moving back to Michigan, or all the big decisions I've made in my life were kind of a split second decision. A lot of my things, I thought I was going a different path. And then when the right thing hit me, I knew. And I was like, yeah, I need to follow that one. And this is one of those things that as soon as I thought about it, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. My whole personality, my being out in a cabin in nature, just writing a book, that makes total sense to me with who I am as a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. One of your split-second decisions that I think was probably one of the best decisions you've ever made was getting Luna. I was
Yeah.
telling somebody about it up north this weekend, and I don't even remember the conversation we had when I did suggest you get a cat, but, like, when you decided you wanted to get a cat and whatnot, you We're a little bit
Mhm.
hesitant, but I think it was, like, the best decision.
Yeah, that was a good
But
one.
yeah, I'm just so happy.
I never was a cat person before that, and I never had a cat. I never had really been around cats a lot at all, so that was definitely one where it was like it felt right, and as soon as I met her, I was supposed to just be meeting her and not taking her home, but I literally took her home that day, and then I was like, "Yep, this is it."
Little Loon. So one thing that I am struggling with a little bit with my ADHD is one symptom that you have told me about with ADHD is, like, impulse shopping and impulse spending, and I don't wanna say that when I got on medicine, I thought that there would be, like, a night and day switch of, like, "Don't buy that," or "Buy that." But, like, now I'm seeing that it needs to be more of, like, an internal mental, like, "No, you can't buy that," because I'm still, like, just shopping on Amazon every other day, and last night I ordered, a really there was, like, a flash sale, so I ordered a really nice pair of sweatpants, gray sweatpants to hopefully replace the ones that hurt my stomach when I wear them. And
Yeah.
then I got this really nice, like, gray, like, zip-up hoodie, like, basic, like, colors, to, like, build up my capsule wardrobe. And then I got that color shirt that you're wearing. I got it in, like, a quarter zip up, and it's like a Lulu dupe or something like that. It's so cute.
Mhm.
So, I'm so excited to get that stuff in the mail.
Well, yeah, but you're so excited, but you also framed this as something that you're struggling with, so what can we do to help that?
Yeah, exactly.
I think one of the things that's really hard to do, but really effective is whenever you wanna buy something, put it on a list, and it's a list that you look at once a week or once every 2 weeks or stuff like that, and then you decide what you actually need or still want to buy and can afford to buy. And another thing actually is that it's September, so we're getting closer to Christmas. So some of these things you can literally save for your Christmas list, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I just wanna, like I totally get that, and I realize that I do need to do that more, but I do have a bunch of Amazon wish lists, like, on my Amazon, and then one is, like, a Sarah wish list of, like, I want, like, golfing shoes and, like, a Laneige lip, like, thing, and just, like, all of, like, those things that I just, like, wouldn't buy for myself, but it's, like, these other things I'm just, like it's like sneaking under the rug, like, I'm able to justify it. Like clothes, for example, or I don't know, things for the house.
You know what I think you might need to do is do some sort of journaling or reflection activity where you kind of just do a brain dump where you're just free writing. And we could even come up with some prompt questions for it that will help you remember and realize why you want to save money. Because I think you're being impulsive in the moment and you're disconnecting it from your long term goals. But whenever we talk about your long term goals, finance is always at the top of the list. So I think you need something easy and simple that you can look back at and be like, oh, this is why I can't buy this because I want this in my life. And if I continue to make all these purchases, I'm literally not getting to where I want to be in life. You know what I mean? You need some sort of spark that's going to remind you what your main priorities are. Something you hang on your wall or you have in your phone or something you can look at just to remind you, like, oh, wait, no, you know what? That's more important. I don't actually need this right now.
So it's funny that you say that because, the reason I one of my bank accounts is through Ally. And what really grabbed me about Ally is the fact that they have buckets. And so, 50% of the time, I'll be able to, like, add some money to my savings, and it's so excited, and it brings me so much joy whenever I, like, put, like, my allotted money, like, into the transfer, and then I can specifically pick where each bucket is, and just, like, watching each thing grow, like, my vacation fund that, like, genuinely, I forgot about when we are planning all of these vacations coming up. It's not much, but I can still help and pay for some things and whatnot. And like my dog fund and like my emergency fund and all this. Watching it build is very exciting to me. That's in my phone. So clearly the phone thing like doesn't work. But I know what you mean And yeah, definitely like a visual thing would help. But also too, one thing that I feel like I struggle with is I'm smart and I know a lot, but I also feel like I don't know like the simplest of things. Like how often should you be buying clothes for yourself? Cuz I mean, I've bought a lot of clothes in the past like 2 years, but I don't know, how often are you supposed to buy clothes for yourself?
Well, I think that's definitely probably a heavily debated topic and it's going to be different for everyone, but I think seasonal is reasonable. If you're not like to redo your entire wardrobe, but I feel like each season you can guilt-free buy a few things for that season, you know what I mean?
Right. And like I think essentially like that's what I did last night.
But you obviously feel bad about it because you brought it up as something you're struggling with. Cuz
Yeah,
those
because I
things
think I just don't cuz I think I just don't know. I feel like I'm guilty of everything that I just don't know about, but, like, how can I struggle finding the happy medium of everything, as little as, like, shopping for clothes and identifying what's, like, a necessity versus, like, what's, like, a luxury.
well, honestly, I hate that this is the solution, but I feel like that's what budgets are for because it's also just based on what you can afford. So if your budget tells you you can spend a certain amount of money on clothes per month, then you'd have no guilt about buying that clothes. And that's the amount of clothes you're allowed to buy that month. And so if you're like, how much am I allowed to buy? Well, it goes by your budget and what you can afford to buy because technically you don't need it. It's not a need. You already have the clothes that
Yeah,
you actually need. So you need to
yeah,
go by what you can
mhm,
afford. And I think that's where the budget helps. And maybe that will give you something to look back on and see how much you're spending. And that can give you your guilt free spending or something.
yeah. Alright, well, maybe my goal for next week will be to I have a skeleton of a budget, but I should it's the it's the sticking to the budget that's
Budgets
the
suck.
challenge.
It's really hard to stick to. So honestly, maybe don't do a whole budget. Maybe do one right now. A clothing budget. If that's your problem area, just do literally one thing. This is my clothing budget
Yeah,
and then add up, make sure that you're not spending more than that.
yeah. Okay. Alrighty, well, I think you had a game that you wanted to introduce.
Yeah, let's get into the game. So, this game today is red flag, deal breaker, or don't really care. So basically, we're going to go through a list of items and you're going to tell me if it's a red flag for you or if it's a total deal breaker or if you don't really care. And then I'll tell you mine too.
Sounds good.
So the first one is he plays video games. That's one of his main hobbies.
Ooh.
I was curious about this one for you because obviously video games is one of my hobbies. So I know I'm going to have a different take on it than you. And I know there was actually this survey that came out recently that was the least attractive hobbies in men. And video games was number one above what's that thing where they stuff dead animals?
Taxidermy.
Yes, above taxidermy. They said video games was even worse. So that's why I was curious because I know it's a deal breaker for a lot of people, or at least a red flag.
So my take on this is if I'm just thinking of somebody maybe my age or a little bit younger, that's a huge red flag because you would give me a new perspective on playing video games, but up until you started playing video games, and even you too sometimes fall into this category. Sometimes that's all you do, and you're just like
Yeah.
addicted. And that is so much of a turn like, they can enjoy video games, don't care, as long as it's a healthy balance, and they're not just consistently in their room playing video games and not giving a crap about what's going on outside. Like and this doesn't even just happen with, video games, I'm talking about football too. It's very unattractive if, like 7:30 the game's on, don't fucking bother me until the game's done. Like, I will respect the fact that you're watching the game and whatnot, and I'm gonna give you your space, but, like, also don't be disrespectful when it comes to a hobby that you enjoy. Like, "Oh, give me my total peace and silence." No. Like, you have responsibilities too. You can get up and whatnot. I don't know. I just think it's like what you do is most of the time is you'll like play for like an hour or two at a time, like here and there and whatnot. Sometimes you do get into those rabbit holes of like on your games a lot, but yeah, I don't know. It's just situational. I guess it depends.
Yeah, I honestly, when you're saying the football thing, I think it would be with any hobby that you can't be obsessed with it and it can't be your only personality trait. And you have to understand that you have other priorities in life too. So, this video game thing, I was watching two guys on a podcast and they were talking about this and they couldn't understand it. They were like, how? Like, how is video games unattractive and blah, blah, blah? Like, how did so many women agree on this? And I think what they didn't understand is that it's the extent to which you do it. And I think a lot of women have had trouble in relationships because the guy, that's all he wants to do is play video games, or he doesn't spend time with her because he's playing video games, or he only wants to hang out with his friends on video games and he doesn't want to hang out with her. Or it's like when it becomes a barrier to the relationship, then yeah, that's a red flag. And even me, as someone who plays video games, it definitely depends on the extent, because I don't want someone that's their first priority in life is gaming all the time. But I think it would be fun to have someone to play games with, you know?
Yeah, and like I know my some of my friends from college who they would just go to their boyfriends like frat houses or whatever just to go sit in their rooms and sit there with their boyfriends while they're on playing games with their friends on headphones. And it's like, why? I don't know. I don't understand that. That's just disrespectful to me.
Well, yeah, especially when you don't live together and you're going to visit, if that's what he's doing. But I think in the future, if I'm living with someone and he's like playing video games with his friends and I'm in the same room like reading my book or whatever and we're doing our own hobbies together, I think that's cute. But it has to be to the point where I can ask him to get off his game and spend time with me and he'll actually do that. You know what I mean? Like I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is they're good friends with their ex.
Oh, why do I feel like all of these are going to be situational? I don't know. I feel like 75% of me like is just like, no. But like in dad's situation, him and my mom have such a good relationship and yeah, he puts up with some of her stuff and like vice versa, but like for me, they have like a good relationship. And so if dad ever got into a relationship or mom and any of their significant others felt some type of way like about my mom or my dad, I I don't know. I wouldn't like that. But then also me being so like if it was somebody like my age and I don't know, let's just say I was dating a guy who's also 23 and he was close with his ex without a child or like anything, that's probably a little bit more of a red flag.
Yeah, I was gonna say when they have kids together, that's different. You have to deal with that person. There's a difference between dealing with someone and co-parenting with someone than being good friends with your ex, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, little Luna making an
There's Luna.
appearance.
I know. Show your face. Or
Oh, she's
eyes.
so okay, so
What do you think?
Um, I would say red flag, like strong red flag, but I wouldn't quite say deal breaker because I do think there are a couple maybe circumstances where it would be okay, but like for the most part, major red flag and probably a deal breaker because even I don't know, even if they had a kid together, but I felt like with dad and your mom, I almost sometimes too feel like it's too much cuz he would help her with things around the house and he would help her with this and that, and it was more than a just like ex we have a kid together thing. He was like helping her with daily things, which is like a
I
boyfriend
agree.
thing. Yeah.
I agree. However, one scenario and one moment that I'm thinking of is moving into college, for example. Mom and dad drove together with me in the same car and they both helped me unload all my shit and all of that. I have a friend who had to have two separate move in times because her parents cannot associate or do anything like together. And that is just, I don't know, I feel like that puts more stress like on the kid. So like in that sense, I'm thankful mom and dad can put their differences aside and do things for me. Yeah, I agree. Mom's
Yeah, because
pretty
that's just
reliant.
good co-parenting. Like, obviously, that's a big, Luna's, like, making biscuits on your stomach.
I
She's so
know.
funny.
She really wants to be
Um,
pet.
but yeah, I think co-parenting thing for the kid is different than, like, being friends, but I would say there's very few circumstances where I'd be okay with you being really good friends with your ex. And obviously, it couldn't be the thing
Yeah,
where you just go hang out with your ex as a friend and I'm not there and I've never met them and stuff like that. Like, if they were actually your good friend, then they're in the
that's
friend
not
group and I'm hanging out with them too. And it's like totally fine. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
Okay. So the next one is likes to debate topics.
Hard pass.
I was going to say, I feel like for you, that's a deal breaker.
Hard pass. Like, I understand debating and, like, I personally don't like debating, but there's a time and a place for it. And, like, sometimes the playful debates, yes, but most of the time, like, no. No. That's, like, 99% a red flag, and if I'm being debated consistently, no. Because I feel like I've been debated my entire life, and that's something that I'm trying to step away from.
Yeah. And that's fair.
How about you?
Yeah, I think for me, that's a red flag. If that's one of your major personality points that you like to debate every topic and you play devil's advocate when I'm just trying to talk about something and everything turns into a debate where I have to defend myself when really I just want to have a conversation with you, yeah, that's a deal breaker for me too.
Like, there's a time and a place for everything of, like, when you should be challenged on some of the situations and whatnot that, like, you're bringing up, but also you just wanna be, like, heard and acknowledged.
Yeah, and someone has to understand those differences. And if they're just trying to debate all the time, it's just not even worth it.
Agreed.
Okay. The next one was they don't have a relationship with their family. Like, they're not close with their family.
That's difficult.
Yeah.
That's really difficult. I would say I'm giving these, like, percentages. I'd say that's, like, 25%, like, a red flag
Oh, okay.
because
That's not bad.
it's situational. It depends on why they're, like, is the right word estranged from their family? Yeah, I don't know. Because I feel like some people might have a really hard, difficult life and whatnot, and then they are stepping away because they want to be the change and they want to have that family and whatnot. And yeah, our family isn't very like close, I would say, but like we want to be the generation that like makes our family close. I think you and I can both agree on that. And so even if like my family was like the family that like was always being hung around with and whatnot, like, I would be okay with that. But also, don't get me wrong, I would love to go into a family with just open arms, a big family people doing lots of things together and whatnot.
But that's not like a deal breaker for
Yeah, I
you?
don't know. No, it would just be situational.
I'm surprised. I thought for you that would be like a deal breaker, not because you're judging anyone for not talking to their family or stuff, but just the fact that would be almost a top priority for you in a relationship that the guy's kind of a family guy and that would be hand in hand with he has a good family life and he has a good relationship with his parents and his siblings and stuff.
Yeah, I guess ideally in the perfect world, that's how it would work out, but then you could also have there's different, like, aspects that you could have. You could have a really good family and then, like, a shitty guy that, like,
Well,
does
obviously
whatever
the
his
guy has
mom
to be
says
good
and just,
too.
like yeah, so, like, in my ideal perfect world, I would love to marry somebody with a good family and, like, all of that, but then I'd also rather take somebody who doesn't hang around their family if they're truly a better guy.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I wouldn't say that's a deal breaker. I think there's a lot of situations when you wouldn't be close with your family and I'm like while I'm close with my family, like I'm fine with my siblings and parents and whatever. I'm still always long distance, you know what I mean? So it's not like that's a super big part of my daily life, you know. So I that would be fine if it wasn't his either.
Yeah, I
Okay.
feel like your family suffices enough for the family time that you need and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay, the next one is every day after work, he has a beer or two. That's his routine.
Where did you come up with these?
What, are they good? They're making
Yeah.
you think.
No. That's
Deal breaker?
no, it's a deal breaker.
That's a
Yeah,
deal breaker for me too.
100%.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Okay, if they came home and, like, smoked or whatever, like, when they got home, like, that's
No, that's a
fine, but,
different
like
question. Don't get into that yet.
oh, okay. Alright, next question. Oh, wait, what about you? Oh, yeah, yours is a hard no.
Yeah, that's a hard no for me. I do not want someone that drinks alcohol every day at all. And I understand people can do that in a healthy way, but
No.
for me, no, that does not align with like my values and my priorities in life. Like I don't want someone that has to depend on a beer to relax after work. That's not my person. Like 100%.
No.
Okay, the next one is oh, okay, well, this goes into the next one. The next one is they smoke, but there's 3 categories. 1, they smoke cigarettes. 2, they vape like nicotine, and then 3, they smoke weed. So there's 3 different categories.
So, cigarettes, hard no. Hard no. Um, Vaping, I'd say, like, 50%,
Like 50%
just, like,
you would
across the
maybe
board.
be okay with it, you're not quite sure.
Yeah, but just, like, in moderation, like, they can't just be, like, going through, like, a vape a day, you know what I mean? Just, like, I don't know. Like
Okay, assume that they're vaping every day. Assume that they're using nicotine basically as it's like cigarettes. They're addicted to it. You know what I mean? They're vaping nicotine. You can say
I
deal
would say,
breaker. You're
like,
not
oh
offending anybody.
yeah, I would say that's a deal breaker.
Yeah. And then weed.
Weed would be I don't know, it's situational. If they're, like, using it every day and, like, they get home from work and they're just, like, stoned or whatever and, like, incapable of doing things and, like, being productive, then, yeah, hard pass. But if they're, like they come home, they, like, take a few hits and they, like, start, I don't know, doing their, like, normal home life, then that's fine. But also no smoking and driving and no drinking and driving, that's also a very hard no. Sorry, I'm going on to other things. Alright. What's your opinion?
Mine is a hard deal breaker for cigarettes for sure. Deal breaker for vaping, honestly. That's a deal breaker for me too. And then weed, honestly, almost a deal breaker. I don't smoke weed and I don't like to. Not that I think there's anything wrong with it, but I just don't like how it makes me feel. So I don't do that. It's just the kind of thing where it's not fun to be around drunk people if you're not drunk. That's how I feel about weed too. It's not really fun to be around someone that's high if you're not high either. So I think
Yeah.
maybe if he wanted to just do it for fun, like, a few times a year, like, that's, like, a couple times a year fun, like, night or whatever, then maybe I would do that too a couple times a year, like, no big deal, but definitely not weekly or monthly, I don't think. I think that's a deal breaker for me. Okay. The next one is a lot of tattoos, like, full sleeves on the arms, probably leg tattoos, and then another level is a neck tattoo.
Hard nose to all of those. Like, maybe,
Oh,
like,
hard
one
nose to all
sleeve.
of them?
Yeah, maybe, like, one sleeve and some other tattoos, but besides that, no.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's like, one's attractive. I don't know, I think, like, one's attractive, but 2 is just, like, too much.
Wait, would you prefer someone with no tattoos? Is that more attractive to you?
No, it's not more or less attractive to me.
So, like, if they have a few tattoos, that doesn't make them more or less attractive at all. It's just, like, kind of neutral.
I think if I had to be really picky and choosy, I would want somebody with a few tattoos. Just
Okay.
because I love the sentimental value of if we were to have kids or whatever, and he'd want to get sentimental tattoos of his kids versus somebody who's like, no tattoos and blah, blah, blah. Cause I have tattoos. Like, not I have two. So it's not like a lot, but I don't know.
Yeah, so basically you want someone that's kind of like you. Like you have 2 really small tattoos. So it's like you'd be okay with getting a tattoo if it really meant something to you, but also you don't really care to cover your body in
Right.
tattoos like me, like artwork. I view it as like artwork, you know what I mean, on my body.
Yeah. And where I as view it as like a sentimental aspect.
Yeah. That's really funny cuz that shows like how warped my brain was on it because I thought that it wasn't going to be hard enough for me to be like, oh, he has 2 full arms and 2 full legs. You were going to be like, oh, maybe. But then I added the neck tattoo because I was like, that would be harder for her. I had no because for me, I'm like, honestly, the more tattoos, the better. Like, I feel like for me, every tattoo adds more and more points. Obviously, I don't want it crazy. Like, oh my gosh, what's Travis Barker? That's right. Courtney's
Dude, I
husband.
was thinking exactly of him.
Yeah. So I
That's
don't want,
exactly who I was thinking of.
so like, obviously, I don't want head tattoos or face tattoos or anything like that. And I don't want like full body head to toe covered in tattoos, but a good amount of tattoos is like really good. Like, the more the better to a certain extent, obviously. And then for me, the hard one was the neck tattoo. I think I would be okay with a neck tattoo, honestly, but that would be a little bit more iffy, like depending on the person and what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. That's
That's so
definitely up
funny
your
though,
alley and
because
not mine.
sometimes I read comments and stuff like that, and it's, oh, it's either a guy or a girl that's really hot and they have a lot of tattoos. And a lot of the comments are so against tattoos. Like, they really don't like them. They're like, why would you put a bumper sticker on a Ferrari? Or like, why would you ruin the blank canvas? Or like, wow, she was so pretty, but the tattoos ruined it. And that's so interesting to me because I don't see that at all. Like, for me, it's like tattoos make someone infinitely more attractive. Honestly, oh, you know what might be a better one for me is if I would date someone with no tattoos.
I don't think you would. No.
Yeah,
That would be a
I
deal breaker
love
for you,
tattoos.
for sure.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Okay.
It is
Um
interesting to hear the way that you view tattoos versus me.
Yeah, I really don't care if it has sentimental value or not. To me, it's more of the artwork of it, which I mean makes sense being an artist and stuff like that. But I just think, I don't know. I like that they look pretty. I don't want you covered in stupid ass tattoos. Like, I saw this guy the other day and he had a giant tattoo of a piece of toast, I think, and like a toaster, and then another tattoo of a big face of a baby with zombie eyes and just like really weird random stuff. And I'm not into that. I don't want stupid ass tattoos. Like, they have to at least look good and have some sort of theme going on or something, you know?
Yeah, that's really dumb. I don't like that
Yeah, no,
at
but I
all.
don't need them to be sentimental. I just think they look good. Okay. The next one is they're a bad texter. And we can elaborate on what that means if you need, but they're just a bad texter in general.
No, that's not a deal breaker because I'm a very, very bad texter. Like, I'm okay to admit that now. And just, like, through and through with my response time, with me actually responding, like, me spelling things right, it being grammatically right, like, I have to no. Half the time, it's just a hot mess when, like, I'm texting.
But if you were in a relationship or you were talking to a guy and you were in like the getting to know you phase, or you've gone on a couple dates and stuff like that, and you're texting him and he's just not responding, like, that wouldn't bother you? Or because you're a bad texter too, you wouldn't be texting him, like you'd rather just call or like see each other in person, or what?
Well, see, the thing is I say I'm a bad texter, but, like, when I do get in those situations of, like, maybe talking to somebody, I do put in more of an effort. And
Yeah.
then, like, after the first time, like, seeing them or whatever, obviously, it's things are gonna change, like, after you meet them for the first time, and so just knowing their true intentions, like, when you meet them, and that's, like, a telltale, I feel like. Because I feel like I'm such a genuine person, and I do try to do so many things for other people, but, like, over text, I just seem like I feel like I seem just like a shitty friend who doesn't care when, like, that's, like, the opposite,
Yeah, you're a
you
very
know?
blunt texter. You kind of sound mad when you're texting to me sometimes because you're just like so short
Be
or blunt or whatever.
Well, and see, the thing is I used to text paragraphs. I don't know if you remember that, but I feel like I can either text a paragraph or I can text a few blunt, short words and just get my point across because I don't know. I've had this person my entire life, just me talking and just if I can't get things out in, like, a certain amount of time, they're like, Just spit it out. Just spit it." It's like give me a second, my brain is not processing it, and so it's difficult for me to I don't know, I get anxiety when I text too, like, big
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Like, most group chats, I do not respond to. I
Yeah.
rarely respond to group chats anymore.
Mine is
Alright.
kind of more mine's hard actually because I don't consider myself a good texter. I mean, if I if I have a good friendship or if it's you or stuff like that, I usually text back pretty quickly. That's with the caveat that I'm responding to a question or it's like a one or two text. It's not someone starting a conversation with me over text usually. You know what I mean? Like I think in order for me to have
Yeah.
a conversation with someone over text, I have to be really excited to text them or like really into the conversation or whatever. So it's like with a guy, I don't know. I would like someone that texted me back, but I'm not going to be upset if it's like a day later or something like that, you know, but like I don't want you to just ignore me completely cuz like you said, I usually don't text people, but if I was in the beginning stages of some sort of relationship, I would be way more texty and I would want him to text me back, but I would want it to be a dynamic where neither of us are going to get upset if it takes a certain amount of time to text back and there's no expectations of like, oh my God, if you don't text me back, you must be mad and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not going to be like that. But eventually it would be nice to get a response. You know what I mean?
No, I definitely get that.
Okay. So I think that was it for today. Thank you guys for joining us and we'll see you next time.
Bye.